There are those who say the richest man in England was the Earl of Crankcase. I use the past tense because one day in back of his ancestral home, Abominable Manor, the Earl decided to take a swim.
I shall take a short dip and then have tea.
Unfortunately, the Earl was absent-minded. Not only didn't he have any tea in the house, but he didn't have a pool. The effects of the tragedy were far-reaching. Before the week was out, the 3 surviving members of the Crankcase family gathered at the law firm of Lamb, Curry, and Rice for the reading of the will. These were distant nephews of the late Earl, Filcher, Belcher, and Jay.
Oh, how we grieve our dear uncle's passing.
Oh, how we'll miss him.
Oh, how much did he leave us?
Nothing. The entire estate, consisting of a £1 million note, goes to the new Earl of Crankcase, and this is what he looks like.
The only existing photograph was a glossy 8x10 of a 12x4 foot. On the sole of the foot was an inscription reading, Rue Britannia.
Find a foot with that on it and I'll show you the new Earl.
Wasting not a second, the nephews searched their souls.
Mine says, don't tread on me. Fiddlesticks.
Mine says, walk softly and carry a big stick. Oh, prunes.
How do you spell Britannia?
It was apparent that the heir apparent was none of them. By the end of the week, the law offices were overrun with barefoot boys with lots of cheek, all claiming to be the new Earl. It was just about then that a prominent London physician made a startling discovery.
This isn't the foot of a man. It's the foot of a moose.
And that brings us to Frostbite Falls, Minnesota, home of our stalwart hero, Rocket J. Squirrel.
Oh, I hate my uncle, but I love my antlers, 'cause antlers are a moose's best friend. Hey, Rock!
Huh? What is it, Bullwinkle?
Hand me my shower cap, will you?
Yeah, here you are.
Thanks. Anything I can't stand is wet horns.
Say, have you seen the morning paper? It says here they're looking for a moose foot with Rue Britannia on it.
You mean like this?
Yeah, like that. Bullwinkle, your foot!
Sure, it's my foot. I got another one just like it. They come in pairs, you know.
But Bullwinkle...
Sometimes they come in apples and kumquats, but mostly in pairs.
Yeah, but those words on the bottom of your foot, don't you know what that means?
Yeah, I got a scrub hardy.
No, you're the new Earl of Crankcase.
Notifying the Crankcase lawyer of the big news, the boys then departed for England.
Here's champion news, gentlemen. The new Earl has been located and will arrive within the hour aboard the SS Flotsam.
Oh, how jolly.
Here, here.
By the way, sir, what would happen if the Earl were to meet with a timely accident?
Why, then you chaps would split the inheritance.
Flushed with incentive, the nephews dashed to the nearest beach just as a channel swim got underway. Pretending to be part of the competition, the cunning threesome dove into the water and appeared to be swimming to France. However, they had barely left shore when suddenly they veered at a 90-degree angle and set a more or less indirect course for the good ship Flotsam, which had just entered the harbor.
Look out this porthole, Rock. They got the strangest-looking purposes in these waters.
Those aren't porpoises, Bullwinkle.
What then, mermen?
No, they're probably diving for pennies.
Actually, they were diving for the bottom of the boat. Once there, they promptly drilled a gaping hole.
Awful warm cabin we're in. Look how we're perspiring.
Bullwinkle, that's seawater.
Indeed it was, and in a matter of minutes, the cabin was almost filled. Will this turn out to be a one-episode story? Don't miss Earl and Water Don't Mix, or next time, take the drain.
Well, son, how's the lemonade business going?
Not so hot, Pop. I only sold one glass to Butch Creases.
Oh, did he like it?
I won't know until after he gets out of the hospital.
Yeah, out of the... Jupiter, suspenders? You don't mean... Let me taste that.
Pretty good, huh?
Well, it's good and strong, I'll have to say that. Who helped you concoct this?
Well, it was Lefty, Spike, Romulus, and Remus.
I thought so. How many times have I told you too many cooks spoil the broth?
But, Pop, this isn't broth.
It isn't lemonade either. Perhaps if I told you a fable, you'd see things clearer. Now, this is the story, son, of the goldfish and the bear. You see, animals are very much like people. They throw things away. And when enough things are thrown away, they form a pile. In time, the pile becomes a dump. In the city, it's a city dump. In the forest dump. It is here that the laziest citizens eke out their meager existence.
Well, there's my contribution. I had a lettuce.
And here's mine, a head of cabbage.
Here's mine, a head of Julius Caesar.
Hey, what's the idea of throwing a statue in there, Jack?
Now, what are you trying to do, bust the stew?
I'm sorry, fellas, but I couldn't find no food.
Then you don't eat. This here is a community-type stew pot. Only if your contribution do you get to eat.
The fox and the crow suggested the bear resume searching. And resume he did. He wandered through the woods for hours until finally he came across a large pond.
I wonder if there's any fish in this pond.
There was a small but succulent goldfish.
Hey, fellas, there's a small but succulent goldfish in the pond.
That's swell. You fetch him, put him in a pot, we'll let you eat.
What does succulent mean?
Who knows?
Wise to the ways of catching fish, the bear headed for the nearest phone booth.
Hello, operator. Let me speak to the goldfish in the pond. Hello, goldfish in the pond? This is the bear. You do not know me, but I got two friends who've got a community stew pot. Now, I cannot eat what's in the pot unless I throw you into it. Now, what I want to know is this. If you let me catch you and throw you in a pot, I will do you a favor someday. Well, what do you say? Will you go for it? Smart alecky goldfish.
Undaunted, the bear took on the services of a friendly pelican.
Right. You catch the goldfish for me, and I'll give you a slightly used honeycomb. Deal?
Deal.
Are you sure you know what a golden fish looks like?
Sure I know what a golden fish looks like.
A succulent golden fish?
Yeah, them too.
Okay, go get him.
Now, where'd that bear go to? Hey, Bear, I got him. I got the goldfish.
Where? Where? This time I was gonna get him for sure. I will flesh wound him. That's what I'll do.
Now, let me get this straight. You want me to take you for a ride, right?
Right. Right over the pond.
What are you going to do with that boulder?
I'll go drop it from the plane.
Why?
Well, ain't gonna do no good up there, is it?
Yeah, okay. All right, let her go. There, you satisfied?
Yep.
By the way, where did you aim that boulder?
For the pond. I hit a golden fish with it.
Mm-hmm. Did you allow for air pockets, cross currents, and like that?
What are they?
Well, you see, when you drop something out of an airplane, it don't necessarily mean it's going to fall straight down. Because a fallen object runs into air pockets and air currents and things like that.
Oh, that's the story, fellas. I just cannot catch that golden fish.
Well, you better, you don't eat. Have you tried a fishing rod yet?
Say, that's an idea.
Boy, is he stupid.
Succulent, too.
You said it.
So, once again, the hungry bear returned to the scene of his failures, this time with a fishing rod. And strangely enough, he came close to a bite. But that goldfish was resourceful. He remembered an old mine that had been left floating in the pond during the war. And after coating it with gold paint...
That's a goldfish?
Don't look like no goldfish to me.
Well, you wouldn't look like no crow if you live underwater.
The fact that the mine was painted gold did the trick. But 2 seconds later... Hey, so you see, my boy, too many cooks spoil the broth.
But it wasn't broth, Pop. It was stew.
Well, what difference does it make as long as the moral applies?
I got a better moral. All that glitters is not goldfish. How about that?
That, Junior, is succulent.
In our previous encounter, we witnessed the demise of the Earl of Crankcase, who did a 3.5 gainer into what he thought was a pool. Naturally, this meant that a new Earl had to take his place.
And this is what he looks like. He has the foot of a moose with the inscription, Rue Britannia.
He not only had the foot of a moose, he was all moose and a yard wide.
Bullwinkle, you're an Earl.
Cod-liver or castor?
However, just prior to closing, we learned that the three rascally nephews of the former Earl were determined to get the inheritance themselves. And as our hero's ship entered the harbor, it was met by the aforementioned trio, who promptly drilled a hole in her bottom.
Bullwinkle, this ship is sinking.
Curious, what would cause an odor like that?
Sinking.
Oh,
Indeed it was. It looked like the boys were gooners.
that's goners.
Fortunately, though, the SS Flotsam settled easily into only 3 feet of water due to a handy sandbar.
For a second there, I thought we were gooners.
That's goners.
Oh.
Like all good luxury liners, this one, too, was equipped with an extra long gangplank, one that enabled the passengers to make it safely ashore.
Now what, Rock?
Now we head for the law office of lamb, curry, and rice to claim the inheritance. If we can get a cab.
Luck was with them and against them, for although they succeeded in getting a cab, they also got 3 drivers.
3 drivers? That's funny.
I don't know. Sounded like a pretty straight line to me.
No, I think we've seen those fellas before.
Yeah, probably in another episode.
Are you sure we've got the new Earl?
Who cares, so long as the meter's running?
I know. Make him show the inscription on the bottom of his foot. Capital idea.
See other foot for inscription.
Sure enough, on the other sole were the words, Rue Britannia.
It's him, all right. Quick, smash the car into a brick wall and we'll be riveted.
But they were in a wall-less section of London, and so were forced to come up with another plan. Taking the first road out of town, they pulled to a stop 3 days later at the very brink of the White Cliffs of Dover. That's when Rocky and Bullwinkle became suspicious.
Gee, you'd think we'd be at the lawyer's office by now.
Relax, they're probably taking a shortcut.
Maybe so, but we better find out. Say, fellas, why are we stopping?
We're going to have the car washed. Yes, you chaps sit right where you are. This'll only take a moment.
The plan was obvious. Sneaking to the rear of the cab, the 3 scallywags prepared to push it over the edge with our boys still inside. But a small squirrel and a large moose were quite a load.
I say, chaps, push!
We are pushing.
But although it was perched halfway over, the cab wouldn't budge.
Oh, fiddle-de-dee. Let's just haul them out and toss them over.
And so they jumped into one side of the cab just as Rocky and Bullwinkle came out the other.
Let's give him a hand, Bullwinkle.
The change in weight was all it took.
That's the craziest car wash I ever seen.
Well, we can't fool around any longer. Let's get to the lawyer's office.
And eventually they did.
There's no doubt of it. Your foot and the foot in this photo are one and the same. Congratulations, you are the new Earl.
Good. Can I have the £1,000,000 note now?
Not just yet. You see, according to the will, you must live in the ancestral home for 1 week.
Ancestral home?
Yes, Abominable Manor.
Shucks, I've been living in an abominable manner all my life.
Yes, but not with 3 desperate wet nephews to contend with. Will Bullwinkle survive? We'll find out in Moose Gets the Juice or Morning Becomes Electrocuted.
And here he is now, your dancing instructor, Mr. Know-It-All.
Ho, Chemo Sabers! Today our little seminar is entitled How to Be an Indian in 1 Easy Lesson, or You Can Be a Tonto Pronto. First, we'll start with the uniform. As you can see, the well-dressed Indian almost isn't. Here's the latest thing for rich Indians.
Bullwinkle, what's that dragon behind you?
That's the cord, Rock. Haven't you seen an electric Indian blanket? Next, we have the headdress.
What kind of Indian would wear that?
A Cleveland Indian, naturally. Now, the chief wears a big bonnet of eagle feathers. Must be for the super chief. The Indian brave wears 1 eagle feather like so, and the not-so-brave wears one of these.
What's that, Bullwinkle?
A chicken feather, of course. Here, Rocky, I got a headdress for you.
Well, what does that make me, Bullwinkle?
You now honorary paleface. Indians don't have a weather bureau, so they make their own rain by having rain dances like this. May I cut in? They call this the Cherokee cha-cha-cha. Indians communicate by using smoke signals like this.
What does it say?
Says, put out that fire. Signed, Smokey the Bear. The Indian diet consists mainly of cornmeal, buffalo steak, moose meat, fish, and... Moose meat?
Well, thank you, Mr. Know-It-All.
Don't thank me! Just send the cavalry!
time of day when Pearl White got up and ate her cereal. But here in Canada, at the turn of the century, the mounted policeman had many things to do before he could eat breakfast. One of the things was to answer morning roll call.
All right, men, answer to your name. Do-Right.
Here.
Dudley Do-Right.
Here.
Constable Dudley Do-Right.
He's here too, sir.
Good. Men, we have a serious shortage of Mounties.
Seeing as how Dudley was the only Mountie, Inspector Fenwick's statement could be construed as accurate.
I want one of you to go out and bring in some recruits. Any volunteers?
Why don't I take a stab at it, sir?
You do that, Do-Right. Tomorrow morning, I hope to see a whole flock of Mounties standing here.
On the following day at sunrise...
Do-Right.
Here.
Fenwick.
Here.
Fenwick. You and I have the same last name. What's your first name?
Nell.
Well, what do you know? That's my daughter's name.
I am your daughter.
I gave her a nickel for joining up, sir.
Do-Right, I ordered you to recruit Mounties.
He's a Mountie.
He's my daughter. Now, you hightail it out of here and get some recruits and don't come back until you do. You even look like my daughter.
Dudley saddled up his horse and left the post post-haste. If only he had glanced to one side, he would have noticed a rotten tree with something even more rotten behind it. Yes, Snidely Whiplash, public enemy number one, had heard everything.
So they're short on Mounties, eh? Well, I'll fill the ranks, so my name isn't Larry Sabu.
I beg your pardon, Mr. Sabu, but in this picture you're playing Snidely Whiplash.
You play Snidely Whiplash. I played him yesterday, and he beat me 6-love.
This foreboding establishment was once owned by Colin Clyde. It was in the underground laboratory that Whiplash hoped to carry out his mad designs.
Is everything ready, Tor?
Yes, Master.
You didn't forget the Tana leaves?
No, Master.
You're a good whatever you are, Tor.
Whiplash pulled a switch, and 1 million volts of carboelectric hydroactivity coursed through a sheet-wrapped figure.
Master.
Not now, Tor. The marshmallows come later. Stand back whilst I remove the sheet. Eureka! I've created a finster.
Monster.
His name is Finster, and the Mountie's name will soon be Mud.
Good morning, men. Roll call time. Do-Right.
Here.
Fenwick.
Here.
We should stop wearing lipstick, Fenwick. Oh, and here's the new man, Finster. Are you here, Finster? Where did you find him, Do-Right?
He was holding up a train, sir.
With a gun?
With his hands. Nell's got powder on, too, sir.
Never mind that. Finster, go break up some firewood.
Within an hour, the entire post had been reduced to splinters.
Henrietta's chickens, you've demolished the camp.
Inspector, Indians are attacking.
That should be singular, not plural, for it was just one Indian, Chief Running Sores, one of Snidely Whiplash's many nom de plumes.
Finster's on the inside, I'm on the outside, and the Mounties are in the middle.
Rally round the flag, boys. We'll beat him yet. Where's Fenwick, Do-Right?
He's taking off his makeup.
Finster, don't just stand there. Throw something.
Finster threw something, Inspector Fenwick. Then Dudley. The post was taken over by Whiplash and his monster.
Fie on you, Whiplash. You've got my post and my daughter, and I want my post back.
I'll make you a package deal. Fight Finster in hand-to-hand combat, and it's yours.
You can do it, Inspector.
What do you mean I can do it? I outrank you. You do it.
I'd rather play Mahjong.
Suddenly, Dudley's horse, bound hand and foot, gave vent to a heart-rending cry.
Now they've gone too far. They have tipped the scale. They have upped my dander.
When provoked, Dudley was a fighting machine, especially if he was oiled. Walking Mountie style, he approached the mammoth Finster and... There are those who say the titanic struggle lasted 2 weeks. Whatever it was, by the time the smoke cleared, only one figure stood triumphant. Finster.
I'm discharging you from the service, Fenwick. Go home.
Fenwick left. The next morning...
Do-Right.
Here.
Dudley Do-Right.
Here.
Constable Dudley Do-Right.
Here.
How about Constable Dudley Do-Right of the Canadian Royal Mounted?
We're all here.
face it, claiming an inheritance in England isn't very easy, especially if your name happens to be Bullwinkle Moose. Yes, those words rule Britannia on the bottom of his foot entitled our moose to inherit a £1,000,000 note. Ah, but there was a stumbling block. 3 stumbling blocks named Filcher Crankcase, Belcher Crankcase, and Jay, nephews to the recently departed Earl.
We must find a ruse for cooking his goose.
So saying, they drove to the White Cliffs of Dover, intending to push our heroes over.
What'd everybody do, get rhyming dictionaries for Christmas?
Luckily, the cab was no pushover, and in the ensuing mix-up, it was the nephews who took the plunge, not Rocky and Bullwinkle. Later at the law firm of Lamb, Curry, and Rice...
Is it true, Mr. Lamb? Is Bullwinkle really the new Earl?
No doubt of it, my boy. That tattoo on his foot matches the one in this picture.
Unfortunately, before the new Earl could collect the £1,000,000 note, he had to spend 1 week inside Abominable Manor.
I don't like the looks of it, Bullwinkle.
Oh, clibber clabber, Rock. I could live there 1 week standing on my head.
Funny Bullwinkle should say that, for just inside the door, someone had carelessly left a Burmese tiger trap. And when Bullwinkle stepped inside, he really put his foot in it.
Say, this place doesn't look so bad.
Rocky's flying squirrel-like eyes gazed about the main hall, tastefully decorated in early Prohibition style and topped off with what appeared to be a very unusual chandelier.
Bullwinkle, what are you doing up there?
You heard the man. I'm a very unusual chandelier.
This is no time for fooling around. Come on down.
Wait a minute, I'll light up for you.
And even though the rope broke, Bullwinkle kept his promise. He lit on his head.
I hate episodes like this, even though I get the money later, which I probably won't.
Exploration of the rest of the manor eventually took them to the second floor and a sinister door.
I wonder what's in there.
Yeah, it's probably just a broom closet.
Rocky was only half right. Actually, it was a spear gun closet, and one of them was set up so that whoever opened the door would get it right between the eyes. Like most closets, though, this one, too, had a sticky door.
Forget it.
I can't, Rock. It's become a kind of fetish with me. Come on, door. Open.
Being as strong as a moose, Bullwinkle managed to rip the door right off its hinges.
Hokey smoke! A spear just shot over my head.
Turning around, Rocky gasped at what he saw, for there, pinned to the wall, was the spear, embedded in the head of a moose.
Bullwinkle!
It does look like me, doesn't it?
Oh, my gosh. For a minute, I thought that moose head was you.
Well, how do we know it is until we check?
The car wash failed, the Burmese tiger trap failed.
So did the spear gun.
But this won't. The moose will pick up the phone, I'll plug in this connection, and 11 million volts will go through him.
I think somebody's out to get you, Bullwinkle. Let's phone Scotland Yard.
Let's phone the police first.
And Bullwinkle headed for the nearest phone, not knowing that it was connected to a diabolical switchboard in the cellar.
Hello, operator. Give me the police.
There he is now. Ready? Here we go.
But although the connection was made, nothing happened.
It's no wonder you forgot to plug this in.
That's when the short circuited.
Big Joe is going tonight. Operator, never mind the police. Let me speak to the governor.
Would you mind getting off the phone, please?
What are you going to do, Filcher?
We're through playing around. The only way to get rid of the moose is to call in a professional.
You mean?
Yes, the exterminator.
Well, it looks as though the situation is getting worse. Who or what is the exterminator? We'll find out next time in episode 120 or 123.